Hello and welcome back finally to Crafts from the Third Floor. I'd like to say hello to anybody who's watching for the first time and a huge thank you to anybody who's coming back, because it has been quite a while since the last time I filmed a podcast. That was mainly because we had a crazy time. We'd been on holiday and then we got back, and then it was Edinburgh Yarn Festival, and then we were catching up with dyeing yarns and things like that, and life's just been crazy hectic. So I wanted to snatch a tiny bit of time that I've got on this lovely sunny Sunday morning while the children have gone out and Ben has gone out too. So I thought I would snatch this hour and film a quicker podcast as I possibly can. So it might not be a typical podcast in that I'm probably going to race through some finished objects, and I'm not really going to have many acquisitions to show you because a lot of them happened a long time ago and they've since been put away. So it would just be the ones that have arrived, you know, in the last few days. So places that you can find me. If you didn't know, my name is Tracy. I have a hand-dyed yarn company called Norah George Yarns, and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as @NorahGeorgeYarns, and our website is www.norahgeorgeyarns.com. So I think that covers just about everything. So let's get into some finished objects. I'm not going to do these in any particular order because I honestly can't remember the order in which I finished them, and if I'm repeating anything that I've shown you before, apologies, my memory's terrible, and obviously it's been a really long time since I did a podcast. So first of all, I'm going to show you the smallest of my finished objects, but probably one of my favourites. This is Derek. And see if the camera will focus on Derek's face. 1 second. So Derek is a little dinosaur, and Derek is from the pattern Little Dino by Susan B. Anderson, as part of Barrett Wool Company, and he's a gorgeous little stuffy with a happy smiley face. Probably won't be able to see, and he's our company mascot now. So you can see he's got his little Norah George Yarns badge on, and I actually made Derek out of some leftovers of a sweater that I made not so long ago. So the main colour here is, they're both Norah George Yarns, Polworth DK. The green is Hunter, and the brown that I've used on the feet and the bottom is a wee Dram. It's a lovely I'm really not good at making things like this, but this was a lovely, super simple pattern. It took me probably all in all 3 hours to knit the whole thing. It's knit in one piece, and all you have to do is then put the feet and the little spikes on afterwards. So it's really easy to make, and I would quite happily make a whole, herd of Dereks. The kids have expressed a desire for lots of Dereks, so we shall see if we have any more. I actually didn't have any toy stuffing. If I pull it apart, you might be able to see. So I filled it with some plain white fibre that I'd got, that I was going to use to spin. So he's actually filled with wool as well. So he's a proper woolly dinosaur. Look how cute his little face is. Isn't he adorable? He's got a little smiley, wonky smiley face, which I think just adds so much character to him. I love him so much. So that's little Derek. You have to excuse if we have focusing issues. I've literally had no time to prepare. I've not even got makeup on, but at least I've washed my hair, so that's, leaning into the camera. At least that's one thing. So another finished object, I started these at Edinburgh Yarn Festival and then finished them at Edinburgh Yarn Festival. So this is a pair of Fingerless Mitts. They are knit out of Norah George Yarns, and this is the Fading Light colourway, is the main one here, and then the top one was a mini that came with a sock set. I think it came with the Elizabeth Bennet sock set, but I'm not entirely 100% sure. So they're just a lovely pair of Fingerless Mitts. It was an improvised pattern. I started making socks and I was following the Blueberry Waffle pattern, so that's a free pattern on Ravelry if you're interested. So I used the Blueberry Waffle pattern for the main body, if you can see that texture on there, and then the thumb I read a couple of free patterns on Ravelry on how to do a thumb, and sort of improvised one from 2 different patterns because I didn't want a long thumb. If I just pop one of them on, I didn't want a really long thumb, and a lot of them did have long thumbs, so let me just show you. So they just fit like that, and I do intend to write up some kind of pattern on this, not with the blueberry waffle pattern because obviously that's already out there, but you could quite easily use that pattern, and I think they're quite a nice length as well. So they are my fingerless mitts, and I finished those in March, so you can tell it's been quite a while since I did a podcast. Right, to put those to one side and out of the way, I'm looking over here at a basket full of things I've got. What should we do? Okay, I'm going to show you 2 sweaters and then I'll go on to some weaving that I've done. So I'm pretty sure this is the first sweater that I finished since the last time I spoke to you. And this pattern is Humulus by Isabell Kraemer. And it's a colourwork yoke. It's knit, from what I remember, it's knit top down. It has short rows in the back to raise the back of the neck, which I love. And then it's got this beautiful stranded colourwork design on the yoke. I used, from what I can remember, it was Malabrigo Rios in pearl is the light grey, and the dark grey is Nimbus something, I think. I'll put it up on my phone, and what I'll do is I'll just pop it on a coat hanger so you can see it held up. So this is Humulus by Isabell Kraemer. So it's a full sleeve, which is unusual for me. I usually do 3/4 sleeves. I think I put some waist shaping in because I don't like my sweaters to be too boxy. I think that's Nimbus grey. The dark is Nimbus grey, and it's slightly, if I just show you, it's very slightly variegated, which actually gives a really nice effect to the sweater. So that is my Humulus, and like I was saying, I don't like them too boxy, so I did actually add in a bit of waist shaping. So you can see if I hold it like that, it looks a bit odd, but it looks fine when it's on. And then at the bottom there's a lovely 1x1 rib, which I don't mind doing at all. I know people hate ribbing, but I don't. I love ribbing, so I'm more than happy to do 1x1 rib. And then I think it's a 1x1 rib as well, yeah, on the cuffs. So that's sweater 1. If you've been following me on Instagram, you'll see that I have been on a massive garment kick this year. I think with the sweaters that I've got on the needles, I think I'm up to 9 so far this year, so I'm doing pretty well. The next sweater, excuse me, I'm just going to lean over and grab my drink. Sorry, it's a bit close. The next sweater is the Tecumseh sweater by Caitin Hunter, who is Boyland Knits. Boyland Knits? I think so. I don't know how you pronounce Tecumseh, so if I'm butchering it, I hugely apologise. So this again is a colourwork sweater, and if you've seen the original one of these, it's a very high contrast. It's cream with I believe gold and black for the design here, and this is actually showing up quite well. I think I've stretched it out a little bit too much at the top when I blocked it. They should be crosses, so I'll have to sort that out the next time I block it. So yes, Tecumseh by Caitin Hunter. I used Brooklyn Tweed Arbor, and I will look up the colours for you. While I do that, I should just tell you what modifications I made. So I added an extra repeat of the pattern at the bottom. So if I can hold it back a little bit just so you can see. So originally it should have finished here, but cropped sweaters don't really flatter my figure very well. So I added an extra repeat in. So this is a long sweater for me. It actually comes sort of mid-hip height. It's quite a long sweater. And I also didn't then put a pattern on the sleeve, because there's supposed to be an additional repeat of pattern on the sleeve, but I thought with that much pattern we really don't need any extra. And let me just look up the colours of Arbor that I used. Okay, so the main colour, which is, it looks beige, but it's actually got a very pinky tone to it. So it's a pinky tone beige. That is Gale. And I used 8 skeins of that, so 400 grams of that one. The white is called Hammock. It's not white, it's more cream. I hold it up for you. And the dark one is Degas. And I absolutely love this sweater. I think it's beautiful. The design is lovely. It's going to be a big, oversized, snuggly sweater, but I thought for autumn it will look really lovely with some like ripped jeans and boots. So I'm really looking forward to wearing that one. And like I said, I modified it a little bit, but I didn't have to modify it massively. When I do my colourwork sweaters, I always go up 1 needle size when I do the colourwork, just so that it doesn't pull in too much. I still get a few issues, especially in these two, because these were ones that I'd done earlier on. But the 2 most recent ones I did had a lot less issues. So it shows that I'm improving. So my next one is the Arboreal. So you might recognise this yarn. This is my Derrick yarn. So Derrick was made from leftovers from this sweater. So this is Arboreal by Jennifer Steinglass. And the yarns again are both Norah George yarns, 100% superwash Polworth DK. The green is Hunter and the brown is a wee Dram. So you can see this sweater has a beautiful leaf design around the yoke. It has a garter neckline, and this was knit in the top down, and so was the Tecumseh, I should have said that. So it's a top down sweater, and it's very simple once you've done the colour work. I did put a little bit of waist shaping in again, and it's showing up like it's got really big, but honestly in person I can't tell that that's got stripes at all, so that's quite interesting. Again, it's got some short rows on the back, so they've been folded up for ages waiting for me to podcast, so they're all a bit crumpled. So yeah, some short rows in the back just to raise the back of the sweater slightly. I did 3/4 sleeves on this one, and I think that is the only modification that I made, was did the 3/4 sleeves, because I'm not a big fan of long sleeves. I tend to roll sleeves up anyway, so why knit them longer when you can stop sooner, is my motto. And that is the Arboreal. So it's blowing out a little bit. It's quite a lot darker in life than it's showing up on the screen. But I would highly recommend this pattern if you've never done any kind of stranded colour work before, because the construction of this sweater is really simple, and obviously you've only got 2 colour work at the top, and it is very simple colour work as well. It's not a difficult pattern, it's very easy to remember. The advantages is there's built-in increases into the yoke, so it actually fits beautifully. A lot of them don't have that many increases in the yoke, so they don't tend to fit your shoulders very well, whereas this one is perfect, and I absolutely love it. And I've really enjoyed knitting patterns by Jennifer Steinglass. So that is Arboreal. Getting a nice stack of sweaters now. Oh, I can go and put all these away. See, Tracy, this is the advantage of podcasting, is you actually get to tidy things up, which is pretty amazing. I'm just going to stop the camera and then start again because I'm running out of time. I only get 16 minutes, so I'll be back in a second. Okay, I'm back. I've had a quick drink as well. So moving on to my final sweater. It's another colourwork sweater, surprise, surprise. And this is Starfall, again by Jennifer Steinglass. So this is a 4-colour colourwork sweater. It was knit in Knit Picks City Tweed DK, which is a blend of wool and alpaca. So it has, I don't know whether you'll be able to see, but it has a really nice halo. Oh, there you can see. And it's so pretty. So this was my first bottom up colourwork sweater, which I was a bit worried about, but actually I loved it. So you started off doing the sleeves. So the sleeves have a similar pattern on the cuff as in the yoke. So you knit the sleeves first, and I knit these 2 at a time. I actually did the colourwork first, and as soon as I was past the colourwork, I put it onto some waste yarn, did the other one, and then put them both onto one needle, and then I knew exactly that the decreases, or increases, sorry, when you go bottom up you increase. So the increases were in the same place and the sleeves would be exactly the same length, which for me is a genius idea because you never really know. And then you start at the bottom. So you have the same pattern on the sleeves on the bottom of the sweater. I can't see what I'm showing you, so I'm probably just showing you nothing at all. So there we go. So the same pattern on the bottom of the sweater, and knit all of this, and then you do this beautiful yoke. And I'll try and remember the colours. So the main colour here is Snowshoe. The dark teal is Jacquard. The light green is Desert Sage, and the yellow is Lemon Curd. And I loved working with this yarn. And even though it has got, I believe it's 30% alpaca content, I'm not sure, it's on my projects page on Ravelry anyway, but it's so snuggly and soft. It was not the most ideal project to work on in 30-degree heat when we were on holiday in Barbados, because it was like knitting with Velcro. But you know, I persevered, I got through the pain, and I absolutely love it. And I think it works really well with the tweed, because the tweed in the main colour, the Snowshoe, really picks up on the colour of the Jacquard, I think. And it just makes it a little bit more interesting. So that is my beautiful Starfall. I've been wanting to knit this for ages. I actually started the sleeves maybe back in December. It was a long time ago anyway. And I'm so glad that I picked it back up and finished it. And I would definitely knit another one of these. I really enjoyed it, and I love the I-cord finish on the neck. I just think it's so neat and smart. And I'll show you my floats if you're interested. I know some people like to see floats. So I'm not the best colourwork knitter. I don't always pick up my floats, so there are a few longer floats, but I think if it's for me, I know that there's going to be longer floats, so I'll be very careful when I put it on. I still need to weave my ends in. I thought I'd done that. Oh well, I'll just tie them in a knot and leave them dangling down the back probably. Anyway, what I was saying is, if I'm wearing it, I know there's going to be long floats, so I'll just be careful when I put it on, really. So that is Starfall by Jennifer Steinglass. I cannot recommend it enough. It's a beautiful pattern, beautifully written, and it looks stunning when it's finished. So that's my stack of sweaters that I've finished since March, must be March, something like that. So when we went away before we went away in May, one of my, my best friend Pam came down to visit from Edinburgh. Well, she flew from Edinburgh. She doesn't live in Edinburgh, but she lives near there. And we had decided to go halves on some yarn and both make a cowl. So we both decided to do the 3-colour cashmere cowl, and it uses 2 skeins of Bear and Wooler, which is this speckled one. I believe it's called A New Day. It was the last one that Vicky ever dyed. And then a matching blue, and then the grey here is a grey that we got from Edinburgh Yarn Festival. It's Knitting Goddess BFL, and I can't remember what the name of the colourway is. The pattern is a 3-colour cashmere cowl by Ho Hilo Catelli, and it's got a beautiful striped and eyelet design to start off with. And then I did change the pattern slightly. This was supposed to be a 2-stripe section, but I did a 3-stripe because I wanted to use as much yarn as possible. This section here has got a texture to it. You can't see it very well in this yarn, but if I hold it close, you can just see there's little pearl bumps. And then there's a lace section. I blocked this a while ago, so it's probably needs blocking again. A lace section and then some little stripes and a rib at the bottom. And I really like it, I'll pop it on. So I finished all these things and I've not been able to wear or use any of them. And I've got a thing, I really like cowls. I think that for me, they're much more wearable than maybe a big shawl. I love big shawls. I'm not a fan of in-between sized ones. I like either really big shawls or something like this that I can pull on. And in the winter, you can kind of pull it up and it's round your neck and it's under your coat, so it's not gonna let any cold in. And I just love it. I think the colours are beautiful, very me, that I'll wear with, you know, what I tend to wear denim and white or denim and navy. So perfect colours for me, and I just really enjoyed knitting it. It was really quick to make. I think I knit it in about 4 days, but I just really enjoyed knitting that. And now finished. Oh, I've got one last knitted finished object, hand knitted finished object. I had some yarn left over from some socks that I made for myself, so I made Pippa a matching pair. This is Twisted Limone, and the colourway is Perfectly Denim. If I just hold them up like that, you might be able to see. So they are matching socks, and I cast on, these are my first ever toe-up socks because I only had 40 grams of the yarn left. No, under 40 grams. And I wanted to make sure that I had enough yarn. So I cast them on toe up, and I did them toe up 2 at a time, and I loved it. It was so much fun. They seemed like they're, I mean, they're very small socks anyway. They were over really quickly. And I'd never done toe up socks before because I hate the bind off. I did a Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy bind off, and I always hated it because it flared at the top, but now I've done it, I actually don't mind it at all. It's not that flared out. And if you've got limited yarn, it just makes perfect sense to, hello. It just makes perfect sense to do toe up. So that's what I did for those. I've also been, in the last couple of days, excuse me, I've been making teachers' gifts. So I decided this year that I would make socks for the teachers. I actually went into school and did a talk to the children about yarn and knitting and where yarn comes from and how it goes from the sheep and it's processed and how it ends up as a skein of yarn like this, and then how it goes from a skein of yarn into a finished product. So I went into school and I took my spinning wheel, my weaving loom, and what else did I took my sock knitting machine, and I took loads of fibre so that the kids could feel different textures of different fleece. And the teachers were just so interested in everything. I thought, how nice would it be to actually make them a pair of socks each as their teacher presents for the end of year. So that's what I've been doing the last couple of days. So all of these were made on my sock knitting machine. I completely finished 6 pairs, and I'm just kitchenering the toe on the last pair. So I've put little ball bands around them. They're not ball bands, they're just my bands but without the logo. And I've put the name of the yarn. So this yarn is by Woolly Mama Yarns, and it's called Star Baker. This one is the Cornish Way, and the yarn is by Lay Family Yarn, my lovely friend Kelly. This is another one of Kelly's. This is called Bruised Peach. And then these two are Woolly Mama Yarns. This is Sweet Katsura. It's a lovely, like, golden yellow. And this one is Gardenia. So it's a lovely sort of muted mauve with speckles of blue and pink and green. And then I finished kitchenering these last night, and I thought I'd leave them out of the ball band just so you can see what the socks look like off the machine. So this is also Lay Family Yarn. This is Summer Bouquet, this colourway. If you've seen this before, you'll know. I'm not going to go over it too much. When I knit on my machine, I do a folded cuff because it's quicker for me. I do the heel on the machine as well, which is effectively just a short row heel. And then I do the same for the toe, and then the toe just gets kitchenered. You can probably see there's a slight line because I've not had a chance to block any of these socks. So I know I had a lot of questions on Instagram about how I sized the socks if I didn't know the sizes of the teachers. So some of them, let me find. So I've knit them in, because hand knit socks do stretch. I've done this as a size 4 to 6, that's a UK 4 to 6. So they'll probably be slightly loose on a 4 and they'll be snug on a 6, but they will fit. And then on some of them I've done a larger size, which is a 6 to 8, because I guess there's not going to be many people that have got really tiny feet. If there is, I'll just remake them or just reknit the toe. So that's what I've done. I did a 60, so on the larger ones I did a 62 row foot on my 64 cylinder. I kept the tension the same for all of them, and for the smaller ones I did a 55 row foot, again on the 64 cylinder. So these are a larger size pair, I believe. So this has got a 62 row foot, and that's before I start. That's from finishing the heel to starting the toe. And then obviously when you finished, I can show you on this one. I'm just about to pick up the stitches. So when you finish the sock, this is also Lay Family yarn. This is a macaroon colourway. So when you finish the sock, you have an opening here at the toe, if you can see if I fold that over. So what I do is from 2 rows, once I've finished doing the toe, I do 2 plain rounds on the sock machine and then add in the waste yarn, which is this blue. So when I come to kitchener the toe together, I pick up the second row in of the main colour on this side and then on this side as well. And then unravel all of this yarn and then kitchener together. When I kitchener the toes, the first 2 stitches on the top needle and the first 2 stitches on the bottom needle I knit together, or I kitchener together, so I don't get too pointy toes. So you can see on here, the toes here aren't too pointy. If you don't do those first 2 together, you get really pointy bits that look a bit like that, which isn't very attractive. So the first 2 I kitchener together, and the last 2 I do the same, so it just brings it in a little bit. And that's it really. So I'll just show you this. I've got one more toe to kitchener, and this is my last colourway. So this is Lay Family yarn macaron, and that's on her BFL base. Macaroon, not macaron. Sorry, Kelly. So I've done 7 pairs altogether. So 7 pairs finished. And I've got another 5 to make. So I will try to get those made, or the socks at least knitted over the next couple of days, and then I'll get them kitchenered so that they're ready to give a week on Friday on the last day of school. I've only got 2 weeks left. It's super scary. So I have 2 final finished objects that I'm going to show you. I think that's all that I've done. I've been weaving again, and this scarf is made out of all leftover Norah George yarns leftovers from sample socks that I've been making. So you can, I'll show you in a minute. I've got a big basket full here of sample socks that I've made, and also another basket the same size that's absolutely full as well, and none of them have their toes kitchenered. So I've got about 40 toes to kitchen altogether. So this scarf was made using those leftovers. So for this scarf I used a 16-inch Shark Cricket loom, which I no longer have. And the reason for that is all of my other looms are Ashford looms, and I just love how the Ashford looms work. I've also got an Ashford spinning wheel, and I just absolutely love how it works, and I just couldn't get on as well with the Cricket. So I sold the Cricket and I've just got now my Ashfords. So I actually made this smaller scarf on the Cricket, and then another scarf of the same size I made on my larger Ashford, but just warped the middle of the loom. But anyway, so when I set up my loom, I probably do it in the wrong way, but it's the way that works for me. I start on either end of the size that I want, and I make the warp symmetrical. So I started off with the red on either side. I'll probably show you better with the fringe. Okay, so I started with the red on either side, and then I had some pinks and a purple and an aqua, some more pinks, and then a green in the middle. So I'd start on the outside and then work all my way in, and then I'd just have a centre panel left of however many dents in my heddle would then be the final colour. So it's a really long scarf, really, really long. It's about, I would guess, about 9 feet. My reason for making it this long, I'll just show you. So my reason for making my scarf so long is that I like to be able to wrap them around me. So the way that I usually wear them is I fold them in half and then flip around. So if I just stand up so you can see. So I'll tend to wear my scarf like that, and I think this length scarf gives a really nice effect. And I twisted the fringe on this one. You can also, you know, just keep wrapping it round if you wanted to, but that's the way that I like to wear them. And that is my first scarf. I can't remember how much this one weighs. I think in the region of, oh, I think it was about 700 meters. So just under 400 grams of fingering weight yarns. And there's a mix of different yarns in there. There's MCN, there's regular sock, BFL, there's sparkle base, and I actually like mixing all of the different ones. The green here, that's on a sparkle base. The red is actually a yak blend. And then there's another sparkle there. The pink is a sparkle. This brightly coloured one here is a high twist MCN. So you can see that they all work really nicely together, and you don't have to stick to one weight of yarn even, you can mix and match. As I'm going to show you with my next finish object. It's a great segue, wasn't it? Okay, so my next one second, is another woven scarf, and this was woven with some hand spun yarn. So at Christmas I bought a fibre advent calendar from Siobhans Crafts, and every day throughout December you had a little parcel with a little bit of fibre in it, and altogether I think it was 200 grams of fibre. So I spun that on my spinning wheel, which is an Ashford Kiwi 2. I did a 2-ply. Yes, I did a 2-ply, and I thought for a start, oh, I'll make a cowl with it, and then I thought actually no, I'm going to weave a scarf. So for the warp yarns I used, let me just look, this end one here is Nougat by Stranded Dye Works. The thick bright pink is Pinata by Stranded Dye Works. The green is some leftover Hunter Polworth DK, of Norah George yarns. The purple is also Norah George yarns, that's Plum Blossom on Corriedale. There is, let's try and figure out, there's some Knit Cosmic Strings, which is that one there, which you won't be able to see. You have to trust me on that one. And what else have I got in here? I think that's it actually. So I warped the loom in exactly the same way. So there's a big pink stripe down the middle, and then there's the green and purple either side with some paler ones. And I just love the colour changes from the hand spun. These look a lot darker on the camera than they are in real life. So I just love the blocks of colour that you get from the hand spun. And this is not as long, this scarf. So I can double it over, but it is, you can tell it's a lot shorter than the other one. But I love it, it's really squishy, and I think it's a great use of the hand spun as well, because it kind of makes it go a bit further. I still have, I think, about 80 grams left. I had 188 grams, so I used about 100 grams of the hand spun in this. So I still have some left, which I can use in other projects, which is great. And also when you weave with it, so you can see here there's some bright neon yellow. When you weave with it, obviously the warp tones those colours down. I just think this looks a really beautiful summer scarf. I just love how irregular the patterning is. This is more subtle this side, and then this side is more blocks of colour. I just think it's lovely. And now that I've finished all those, I am actually doing Stash Dash this year, and I think with I've finished 2 sweaters, 2 scarves, my cowl, my handspun, my teacher's gift sock. So I think I'm up to just over 8,000 metres at the moment on Stash Dash, so I'm doing pretty well. And it's good to challenge yourself like that, I think. Okay, so that is all of my finished objects. I'm going to move on now to works in progress. So my first work in progress is a test knit, and this is a test knit for Ellie of Skein-Deer, and she released earlier in the year the Vinterfjell sweater, which is a colourwork yoke sweater, and now she's well, it's in test knit at the test knit stage at the moment. It's the children's version. So I am knitting, test knitting for Ellie, and this is the Vinterfjell, I can't remember what she called it now, hold on. The Weisler Vinterfjell sweater. Sorry if I'm butchering that, Ellie. So it's a children's version. So I am knitting this out of Norah yarn's Corridale. It's a non-superwash yarn. The green is sapling, the purple is plum blossom, and the pink is peony blush. So I've now finished the body. This is for Pippa. I decided to do a contrast hem because I just really like the purple and the green together, because they've got some similar flecks of blue through them. And I've just picked up, it's covered in grass because I was knitting it at the park the other day, and I've just picked up the stitches to start the first sleeve. It's a lovely design. It's top down. It has short rows here in the back to raise the back of the sweater. There's increases built into the colourwork all the way around, and it's just lovely. And it looks quite small for Pips, but she is quite small. But this yarn, it's quite a loose gauge. You can see there is a lot of stretch in this. So when it's blocked, I can imagine it's going to grow quite considerably. So it fits her quite well now, but I think once it's blocked, it will be perfect for when she gets a bit older. So that is the Vinterfjell, children's Vinterfjell. So I'm hoping to get that finished this week. And I'll just show you my colours. So they are my colours, and I love knitting with the Corridale because it's non-superwash as well. It's a loose 2-ply, but it is quite toothy, so it does grip. It's still really soft, but it has got a bit of grip to it. I don't know whether you can see, it's got a slight halo on the yarn, so it does grip to itself pretty well. That is living in my ridiculous dinosaur bag, my fringe field dinosaur bag. I'm a bit of a Jurassic Park fan, so that's one side and that's the other. So the bag actually weighs 10 times more than the project. And the next project that I'm working on is my Parisian Dreams sweater, which was a test knit for Mina of Knitting Expat, but it's taken me a long time to make it. And I love the pattern, so it has absolutely nothing to do with that, but it's a lot of lace. And I tend to have to knit in the evenings or when the kids are around, and I'm not always awake enough. So it started, and it's beautiful. You can really see the pattern there. I'm knitting this in Norah yarns. It's my yak silk merino base in a wee Dram. It's blowing out a lot. It's a lot darker than that. It's a tonal golden brown with hints of orange and gold, and that's on my yak silk base, and it's beautiful. The drape this thing has, it's just, you can see, it's amazing. I can't wait to finish it, and I will finish it. It's just a case of getting the appropriate time to work on it. The back is stockinette, so that really helps. You can see the colours. It's blowing out massively, but you can see the variation in the colours on the back. and it's a top up sweater, so you basically knit up to the armholes, and then you knit the front, and then you knit the back, and then you knit the sleeves on. But I think what I'm going to do, because the yarn is the yak and the silk, it's draping, it's got a bit of sheen, instead of doing full length sleeves, I'm just going to do cropped sleeves, because for me it looks more like an evening type sweater. I think that's the combination of the yarn and the pattern and the colour of the yarn as well. It looks more like an evening sweater, so I'm going to make it a shorter sleeve rather than a full sleeve one. So that is that one. And like I said, I had a basket full of socks of Norah yarn samples. So these, as you can see, all need toes Kitchenering, and I will get there. I've got, this is the Serpent of Slytherin, so it's a grey with red and green speckles. Mermaid, Dudley Demented, For Privet Drive, and this one is Mr. Weasley's Ford Anglia. So they all need toes Kitchenering. I did finish some pairs off. This was my yarn that was in Jules's advent calendar. Jules is So Sweet Violet, and this is Where Winter Roses Grow. So I did actually finish those. They're fully finished. I'm not going to spend too long talking about my socks, because I know that not a lot of people are interested in the sock machine socks. So those are finished, so they can now go upstairs. And let me get some more of these out. This is Shrieking Shack. These are finished too, but these are sample socks, so they can't be worn. And the last two pairs, this is Berries and Cream, which is a lovely creamy base with purple and peachy speckles. And this one is Stranded Hedgehog, which is one of my favourite colourways. It's a pale turquoise and purple with fluorescent orange, purple and blue speckles. So they are all sample socks, which I really want to wear, but I can't because they're samples. So I've been pretty busy. There's two more pairs here as well that are finished. So as you can see, the sock machine, they're just sample socks in my yarn. And then obviously the teacher socks that I've been doing as well. So yeah, it's been pretty hectic. I've got just a couple of acquisitions that I want to share. Mainly, as I said, because most of them have been put away. I am on my to make list. Let me just check the pattern name. I'll show you the yarn first. Let me get my queue up on Ravelry. Just excuse me for a second, very professional. That's page 2. Where is it? It is the boho style mosaic cardigan by Irene Lynn. If I can just get a good picture up for you, I don't know whether you'll be able to see it. So that is the pattern, and it's knit in a worsted weight yarn. And my colours, the main colour, these are all Wisconsin woolen spun yarn from Barrett Wool Company. So this is Quaker Grey, that's my main colour. And then my contrast colours are Blushing, Coal, which is actually more brown than grey. And then the final one, and the label's just come off, is Bay Leaf. So if I hold them all up together, that will be my mosaic cardigan. So these came this week, and once I have finished that test knit for Ellie, this is probably going to go on the needles. And the main reason for that is it's the only yarn that's downstairs. And I'm too lazy to go all the way up to the 3rd floor just to get that. And the reason that I'm not filming from the 3rd floor is that it's covered in advent calendar yarn at the moment, and there's no hiding it, it's everywhere. We've dyed up half of the advent calendars already, which is 1800 mini skeins, so you can imagine they are everywhere. So that's one of my acquisitions. And then I wanted to show you a skein of yarn that I'm going to be putting on the sock machine very soon for myself. This was a club from my friend Kelly of Lay Family Yarn, and this is called the 4th Earl. It was from our afternoon tea club, and these colours are me completely all over, and there's no way I would ever use this yarn for anybody else but myself. It's on her BFL base, and it's peach with like a minty green and some gold speckles, and it's so pretty. So that's an acquisition. And then I just wanted to show you this lovely gift that I had. I had this sent to me by the lovely, excuse me, I'm just pulling some cotton off. Lovely Lupinlane Handmade. And it's a beautiful project bag. It's been screwed up and I can use it now because I wanted to show it. It's a massive sweater sized bag. It's got a little tab inside, put your stitch markers on, and then you can see Lupinlane there. It also has a little name tag with my name on, a lavender sachet, and this beautiful progress keeper. It's been crocheted. It's got little pearl beads on as well. Isn't it gorgeous? So I'm going to use that now, and it smells amazing from that lavender sachet. So I can finally use this bag. I'm really excited about. So I'm going to leave all of my projects and things there. I have been doing a little bit of sewing, and I have some sewing acquisitions as well that I wanted to show you. But to be honest, this podcast is just going to get way too long. So I'm going to leave it there. I know it's been a bit rushed, but I just wanted to kind of catch up as much as possible. So I will see you hopefully next week. And thank you so much for coming back, and I will see you soon. Happy knitting!